Hey everyone, it's Alexander Robinson. Welcome to the channel, and this is my retro review for Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, which came out in 1943 and is not only a sequel to The Wolfman, but also The Ghost of Frankenstein, and is considered to be the first major crossover in movies. The movie opens up with two grave robbers trying to raid the tomb of Larry Talbot. Spoilers for the end of The Wolfman, but they decide to do this on the night of a full moon. And that somehow resurrects Larry Talbot, who can't seem to remember what happened. And he, again, starts turning into the Wolfman, and he's trying to find a way to die. So he goes to the old gypsy woman from the last movie, and the two of them go to a nearby village to try to find Dr. Frankenstein to help Larry die. And by doing this, Larry comes across the Frankenstein monster, befriends it, but things happen as the movie progresses to where the two of them end up fighting. Nowadays, thanks to the MCU, the Monsterverse, and two cinematic interpretations of the DC characters, we're accustomed to cinematic universes and crossovers. But back in the day, the idea of two franchises coming together in one movie was almost treated like an event. Sometimes it worked out, and sometimes it did not work out, but we enjoyed them regardless. But it all started with Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. So I was really looking forward to finally seeing this movie for the first time and seeing where all these crossovers originated from, because without this movie, there'd probably be no King Kong vs. Godzilla, no Freddy vs. Jason, and no Alien vs. Predator. At least in terms of movies, because I know Alien vs. Predator was a crossover in comics and video games. And I'm not counting the MCU or the two DC universes, because comics were mixing around their characters for decades. It just took them a while to bring that idea to movies. But anyway, when it comes to Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, it's not that good. That's something else that a lot of other crossover movies pre-MCU have kind of adopted, unfortunately, is that, yeah, we get to see these two iconic characters clash, but it's not really good. But this movie isn't awful. It's not unwatchable or anything, because it actually has a really good opening. It works as an effective sequel to The Wolfman, where we get to see Larry Talbot trying to die again, and he has so much guilt of the crimes he's committed as the Wolfman, but no one actually believes him except for the old gypsy woman. He does a really good job once again. The problem with this movie, however, is that they kind of needed a reason to have the Wolfman and the Frankenstein monster fight each other. And when you think about the actual plot, it doesn't make a lick of sense. Larry wants to die again, so he seeks out Dr. Frankenstein. Well, why doesn't he just die by something that's silver again, like in the first movie? That's a clear rule that they set up with the Wolfman that is carried on for decades afterwards. So the second you start thinking about the plot of this movie, it crumbles apart. And I know a movie like King Kong vs. Godzilla had kind of a flimsy excuse to get these two monsters to fight each other, but I can defend that because that movie's more entertaining than this one. But also, that movie was supposed to be a riff on commercialism and TV advertisements at the time in Japan. So at least it had some sort of commentary to make, whereas Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman does not. And with Freddy vs. Jason and Alien vs. Predator, look, those movies may not be good. I enjoy bits of AVP, and I think Freddy vs. Jason is a lot of fun. But in terms of coming up with an idea on getting these two characters to fight each other in their respective movies, both movies do a really good job. The idea that the Yautja view the xenomorphs as their final test to ultimately become predators, and having Freddy Krueger manipulate the kids on Elm Street into thinking that he's back by using Jason as a vessel to regain his powers, is genius. With Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, again, it's a flimsy excuse for getting these two monsters to actually fight each other. And that doesn't even really happen until you get to the end of the movie. Because throughout a lot of this movie, it's Larry Talbot basically talking to a bunch of characters trying to figure out how to die. And the Frankenstein monster doesn't really do a whole lot. Considering that this is a sequel to Ghost of Frankenstein, in which Lon Chaney Jr. played the monster, who plays the monster in this movie? Well, it's Bela Lugosi that actually plays the Frankenstein monster, which is funny because either he was offered the role of the monster in the original Frankenstein, but rejected it, or James Whale didn't want the idea of Bela Lugosi playing the monster. but it's funny that he now eventually came around to playing the monster in this movie. And he does a decent job. I mean, he's given a little more to work with than Lon Chaney Jr. did in Ghost of Frankenstein, but he's not in the movie for very long, and his performance at first is just kind of awkward, where he has his arms out the whole time. It's just a really awkward performance. And he just kind of disappears throughout a good chunk of the movie until you get to the final act. And that final act, as brief as it is, it's pretty entertaining. You finally get to see these two monsters fight each other, and even though the Frankenstein monster is clearly played by a stuntman and not 60-year-old Bela Lugosi, it's entertaining to watch, and they are just tossing each other around left and right. Most of the other actors do a good job as well. Ilona Massey from Invisible Agent is playing Elsa Frankenstein in this movie, the same character that Evelyn Ankers played in Ghost of Frankenstein, which she couldn't this time around because she was Gwen in The Wolfman. But she does a decent job. The actor that plays Dr. Frank is decent enough, but he is basically playing this film's version of Dr. Frankenstein, and he does something incredibly stupid at the end of the movie, considering that he's supposed to not only kill the monster and drain his life force, but also help Larry die at the same time. He ends up inheriting an unspoken Frankenstein curse where he just wants to see how powerful the monster can be. So it's a dumb decision, but there wouldn't be a fight without that dumb decision. One little note about the end of this movie that I found pretty funny is that both the monster and Larry are killed off by a flash flood that destroys the Frankenstein castle, or at least the remains of the Frankenstein castle. And yet, all the other crossover movies that have come afterwards have something to do with water as well. King Kong and Godzilla fall into the ocean at the end of their movie. Freddy and Jason die in the lake at the end of their movie, or at the very least, Jason emerges out of it with Freddy's head in his hand. And the xenomorph queen in Alien vs. Predator gets drowned at the bottom of the ocean. So that's really weird that all those crossover movies would take something water-inspired from Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. So the movie overall is just okay. It's got a good first act and is a good sequel to the Wolfman. The second half is actually pretty boring and has a lot of continuity issues from Ghost of Frankenstein. But I think the last couple minutes where the monsters actually fight makes it all worth it. So I say watch at your own risk. It's very entertaining and definitely a better movie than Ghost of Frankenstein. But if you're expecting this to be this grand, amazing crossover movie, it's not that. It's enjoyable for its moments, but it's no King Kong vs. Godzilla in my eyes. And there you go, that's my review for Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. I hope you enjoyed it. And next up, we're going to be talking about another crossover type movie. If this movie was the King Kong vs. Godzilla of the Universal Monsters, then the next one would be considered the Destroy All Monsters of the Universal Monsters. And I'm talking about House of Frankenstein, which not only brings the Wolfman back, not only brings the Frankenstein monster back, but also Count Dracula. So we'll talk about that movie next time. So thank you guys so much for watching this review, and I want to give a special thank you to my subscribers and YouTube members right over here. You guys are the reason why this channel continues to grow every day, and if you want to help to financially support the channel, you can do so via YouTube memberships for as little as $1.99 a month. But until next time, I want to know what you guys think about Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. If you've seen it, whatever your opinion is, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell button to get notifications. If you want to find me elsewhere on the internet, you can find me on these social media platforms and my theme park and travel channel right here on YouTube. I'll see you guys in the next video, but until then, have a good day and take care of yourselves.